Welcome into Texans today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and I'm not even going to lie. This game was an absolute gut punch, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined our live watch party and just was there during this just awful, awful loss to the Broncos in Week 9, because this might have stung the most out of every single Texans game, every close call that we've had this year, because the defense, they played their hearts out, man. They played their hearts out, and this team showed so much will, showed so much grit, and at the end of the day, just wasn't enough, man. Lost by 3 to the Broncos in Week 9, a last-second field goal where the Texans, they had the ball with a minute to go, could not do anything with it. They kicked it away to the Broncos, and a 30-yard run by Bo Nix sealed the deal for this ball game. And like I said, dude, I'm trying to keep it together right now. I'm trying to be composed and give y'all my honest, instant reaction and give y'all, the content that y'all deserve. But I'd be lying to y'all if I'd be lying to myself if this game just didn't take a lot out of me. But like I said, I appreciate everybody who joined me. I will continue to do Texans watch parties at every single game. We'll be bringing you content throughout the entire week. So hit that sub button for free videos all year long. As I mentioned, I was really happy with the turnout today and the fact that everybody was loud, everybody was engaged in the chat. I really do appreciate y'all. And I always say the most important thing you have in this world is your time. The fact that a lot of y'all spent that time with me today on Texans Today means a lot. So I appreciate each and every single one of y'all, even the Broncos fans and haters in the chat, even though at the time I was really annoyed. But like I said, I'm still just beat up that we lost this game. But let's get into my takeaways from this ball game. First up, I think we found out something very important today, and I'm not glad that it happened, but I'm happy that CJ really showed his stuff in the first quarter, because this just proved to me that CJ's our guy. Obviously, Davis Mills, I think he's serviceable as a backup, but Stroud, you can't tell me that if Stroud wasn't in this game, the Texans wouldn't be victorious. I think CJ, this offense had it cooking. Now the red zone, that was another problem, but overall, 6 of 10, 79 yards, 12 rush yards. Obviously got knocked out from that apparent no call by the refs in the second quarter where he was out for the rest of the game. It was just, I think CJ Stroud, a lot of fans have been wishy-washy. Is he the guy? Should they put Davis Mills in? This, that, and the other. I don't think it's a question at this point that CJ Stroud is our franchise guy. He is the quarterback. And if he was in this game, I really do believe the Texans would have won this Week 9 matchup. All right. Before we get into our next point, I just want to wish CJ Stroud well. He did post a picture of him and his mom from the CJ Stroud Foundation during this game saying he was okay. And I honestly think if it was up to CJ, he would have played the rest of this game. But with concussion protocol, everything going on in the NFL, I don't think the NFL was going to allow him to get back in this game after getting the lights knocked out of him in that second quarter. But if you do come across this, CJ Stroud, any of your family, anybody that is friends or anything with CJ Stroud, I want them to see CJ Sevens in the comment section. Wishing him a speedy recovery. I'll be keeping you up to date with his injury status going into next week up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I trust CJ Stroud. He is my quarterback, and I want to see an extension get done this offseason to keep CJ in Houston long term. And like I said, you can't tell me otherwise that the Texans don't win this game if CJ is under center. Next up, and during the stream, rightfully so, I had a lot of heat thrown towards the refs. The refs, in my opinion, missed some major calls. The picking up with a flag on CJ Stroud, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. If you could tell me with a straight face that the NFL would do that same thing to Patrick Mahomes, an unnecessary roughness, go back and review it and overturn it, They would never. They would never. Besides that, though, if I'm looking inward at what the Texans did and, what they didn't do, that's another major reason why the Texans lost this game is because the decisions that were made in crunch time, it just seemed like all of them were the wrong choice. Like, if I look at the stats between the Texans and the Broncos, not that much in between them, right? I mean, the penalty yards would suggest that it was a pretty, toss-up matchup. We won the time of possession, around the same amount of total yards, passing yards, rushing yards. But whenever I'm saying crunch time, first, the decisions that were made in the red zone. Nick Caley, I will give him that the offense was looking better. They were moving the ball with C.J. Stroud, and they looked much better in this game while Stroud was in the ball game. But the calls in the red zone were so idiotic. Like, the fact that you will not QB sneak it from the 1-yard line, and then the next time you get down there from the 3-yard line, you decide to QB sneak it with Davis Mills makes zero sense to me. I mean, the one thing the Broncos were beating the Texans with all game long was the interior. Jake Andrews, you're going to have a rough Monday watching the film because he got his ass whooped. The interior offensive line, Laken Tomlinson, Ed Ingram were both injured in this game. And we just wanted to rush the ball up the middle. Like, why? Why are we forcing the ball up the middle? Why are we continuously running fullback dives when we're not getting any push? If you're not getting a push up the middle, British Brooks is a strong fullback. But that doesn't mean anything if we're not getting any push up front. And maybe the biggest decision that D'Amico, this staff will look back and say, damn, if I could have one thing back, I wish I could take that back, would be not running the ball whenever you had the ball with maybe like a minute and change left. You decide to throw it 3 times. One time where Jaden Higgins, it was Xavier Hutchinson, got out of bounds, and they called it, or it looked like he was in bounds, called him out of bounds, and that stopped the clock. You basically didn't force Denver to take any of their timeouts, and they get the ball at around the 40-yard line with 2 timeouts, and all they got to do is get into field goal range. I think it was a disservice to this defense that, you knew the offense wasn't doing well all game. It was a long shot to drive down the field at that point, and you don't force Denver to take any of their timeouts. You let them keep their timeouts. You end up punting the ball away, and, the rest is history. The Broncos roll on down and score a game-winning field goal. And I think that is going to be a big point from this game where the coaching staff is going to look inward and say, damn, we really dropped the ball on that one. And overall, I think, the Texans coaching staff, with everything being considered, another 3-point loss. So, overall, I thought great job by the defense, and you were able to stay in the game the entire time. But those decisions, those small decisions really make an impact once they kind of pile up towards the end of the game. Not getting touchdowns when you're at the 1-yard line, and then not running the clock out at the end of the game to let Denver have another shot at another game-winning drive. I think those really came down, those decisions, and that's gonna come back to bite the Texans in the butt for sure. Next up, my takeaways versus Denver. Our rookies somewhat disappeared. And by disappeared, I mean really didn't get that many touches. Jalen Knoll got 1 carry. Besides that, no targets, no receptions for Jalen Knoll. Woody Marks, 10 carries for 27 yards. Not really what you want to see, but Denver was not allowing any rushing lanes throughout the entire game. So it didn't really matter who was running the football, if it was Woody Marks or Nick Chubb. And then, Jaden Higgins got 1 catch for 4 yards. That's it. Maybe it was Jaden Higgins who went out of bounds at the end of the game, now that I'm thinking of it. But you didn't target Knoll after he had an insanely good punt return. Shows you that he's electric in space. He gets 1 carry on a jet sweep, and after that, it's nothing. And now I know it affects the game with Davis Mills in the game rather than C.J. Stroud, but, man, it's like they just disappeared. They just disappeared throughout this game, and Nico Collins had a great game. Almost got a touchdown. Literally was at the inch-yard line right there. Was so close to getting into the end zone. Just game of inches, and the Texans came up short. Now, I have 2 more takeaways to break down on today's show, but couldn't do today's program if it wasn't for our sponsor over at PrizePicks today. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. This hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Super simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you can cash in big time. And one thing that I like about PrizePicks is I had CJ Stroud in my lineup, but they have an injury reboot policy. So if a player leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. So technically, did pretty good on my PrizePicks because CJ Stroud wasn't in the game. That didn't affect my lineup. Shout out to PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Shout out to them, and go check them out. That link will be in the comment section and description of today's video. All right, next up, the defense played lights freaking out, man. I have never been more proud of a unit or a team after a loss than I am right now of this Texans defense. I know Bo Nix, the Broncos, had a game-winning drive, but this team showed resiliency. This team showed it doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter if have 14 I think this team could be 0-16 and still play with the amount of passion and grit, and it is just so inspiring because so many points in this game, this defense stepped up in a massive way to just ensure that the Texans were even in on it, right? Like, Will Anderson had a tackle for loss, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. Danielle Hunter, and obviously the snap counts aren't in yet, so don't look at those too much. Danielle Hunter, 3 tackles, 2 quarterback hits himself. This defense, Azeez Al-Shire had 9 tackles. There was a pick by Kalen Bullock. Like, this team showed so much grit, showed so much that, they're not going to give up no matter what. And it starts with the defense, man. This defense, I know we lost the game, and the defense was on the field when we lost it. But I'm so proud of this unit, if I'm being honest. And that's probably not what y'all want to hear. That's probably not, a popular opinion right now after this game, after a loss. But this defense deserves their flowers, man. And I am so happy just to have watched an amazing performance by this defense, as heartbreaking as it was at the very end. Shout out to them. Let me know, though, down below, do the Texans have a top 3 defense in the NFL? I'd be hard-pressed to say otherwise after that performance. They were fantastic. Let me know down in the comments section, though, yes or no, do the Texans have a top 3 defense? Lastly, this is what I'm going to end on. Texans, weirdly enough, still have a chance in the wild card. And I know that's crazy. I know you're probably like, Jeremy, I don't even want to hear about anything playoffs with this team. But it's the truth. The Texans are 3-5. I don't think they have, even with the Colts loss today against the Steelers, I don't know if they have a chance to win the division. But at the end of the day, if they show that grit, determination moving forward, they're going to get into wins. And the fact is, this team has been so unlucky this season. How many games have they lost by 1 score at the very end of the game? The Bucs, the Rams, this game right here to the Broncos, the Jags. Like, almost every loss that the Texans have had, it's come down to the final minutes of the game, and the Texans are just inches. Like the cliche, it's a game of inches. And the Texans were just inches short today of another win. And I think this is a good team. Obviously they've played a lot of good teams very well. But just at the end of the day, it's just like the little things. It's the devil's in the details. And the Texans this year, they just can't get the details going. But I will continue to break down this team every step of the way. I will have faith in this team every step of the way until they are mathematically out of it. And then we turn to the offseason. But I'm not ready to do that yet. Call me crazy, call me stupid, but I still have faith in this Texans squad. They never let up. They never give up. And I'm proud to be a Houston Texans fan, even after a loss today, because this team showed that there is no quit in Houston, and that's exactly how they played today.